So in this video, let us discuss about the first chapter of accounting, corporate accounting, issue of shares. As we all know, a company can raise capital by using various sources of capital like equity shares, preference shares, debentures, etc. So among these sources of finance, equity shares are the most important sources of finance, or in total we call it as shares. It includes contains both equity shares and preference shares. So in this module, the first module, we are going to discuss about issues related to the issue of shares. What do you mean by share? What is share? So it is the capital of the company divided into units of a fixed value or amount, and we call that as equity shares. For example, if the company capital of a company is rupees around 10 lakh, and if the face value is rupees 10, then the total number of shares is equal to rupees 10 lakh divided by rupees 10 each. So we get 1 lakh units of shares. So each of these rupees 10 unit is called as a share. A person who holds one or more shares is called as shareholder. Okay. According to Companies Act 1956, a share is a share in the capital of a company. Share in the sense a part of the capital of the company. A person who holds one or more share is called as a shareholder of the company. Now let us discuss what are the classes of shares. There are two types of or two classes of shares. The first one is preference shares and the second one is equity shares. What is share capital? Share capital means the capital raised by a company by the issue of shares. There are different types of share capital. So in that, the first one is authorized capital. The first one is authorized capital. Authorized capital is the maximum amount of capital which a company is authorized to raise from the public by the issue of shares. It is mentioned under the capital clause of the Memorandum of Association of a company. It is called authorized capital because it is the capital which a company is authorized to raise from the public. So company is allowed or company is authorized to raise so much capital, and therefore we call it as authorized capital. It is also called as the registered capital because it is the capital with which a company is registered. And it is also called as a nominal capital because it is the total nominal value of the shares which a company can issue, and a company has this capital only in name. So this is there for just for namesake, and therefore authorized capital is also called as the nominal capital. The next category of share capital is issued capital. It is that part of authorized capital which is issued or offered to the public for subscription. That means the remaining balance of the authorized capital which is not issued to the public is called as unissued capital. For example, if the registered capital is rupees 10 lakh, out of which rupees 5 lakh worth shares are being issued to the public, then issued capital is going to become rupees 5 lakh and remaining 5 lakh is unissued capital. Third category, subscribed capital. Subscribed capital is that part of issued capital. Listen here, it is a part of the issued capital which is subscribed or taken up by the public. That means there is no guarantee that the entire issued capital of rupees 5 lakh will be subscribed or taken up by the public. It may be subscribed in full or a part. So that part of the issued capital which is subscribed or taken up by the public is called as subscribed capital. Now the fourth category, it is called up capital. It is that part of subscribed capital which is called up or demanded by the company from the applicants for the shares. Generally, a company does not require the entire amount of shares subscribed by the public at once. Say for example, out of 5 lakh issued capital, rupees 4 lakh is being subscribed by the public. In this case, it doesn't mean that company requires the entire 4 lakh at once. So, it collects the amount due from the shareholders in installments at different intervals. That part of the subscribed capital which is called up, or it is also called as demanded by the company, is called as paid up capital, called up capital. And the balance of the subscribed capital which is not yet called is called as uncalled capital. So fifth category is the last one, the fifth and the last one, paid up capital. What do you mean by paid up capital? Paid up capital is that portion of called up capital which is actually paid by the public. Okay, there is no guarantee that every shareholder has paid the worth of the shares held by him, called the amount called by the company. Suppose if a few shareholders who have not paid, then that has to be, the amount of capital has to be deducted from the called up capital, and that portion is called as paid up capital. The amount called up but not yet received by the company from the applicants is called as calls in arrears. Suppose rupees 3 lakh is being called up, rupees 2 lakh is being called up by the company, but out of that the company has received only 2 lakh 90,000. See, 3 lakh is being called up by the company, out of which company has received only 2 lakh 90,000. The remaining 10,000 is not yet received, and that rupees 10,000 is called as calls in arrears. So now let us move on to the second classes of shares. It is preference shares. Preference shares are the shares which have preferential right over other kinds of shares in respect of dividend and in respect of repayment or refund of capital in the event of liquidation of the company. See, during the time of liquidation of a company, or during the time of payment of dividend, a certain category of shareholders are getting preferential rights over the other categories of shareholders. The shareholders who are getting priority while paying the dividend or while refunding the capital during the liquidation of a company are called as preference shareholders, because they have a preferential right while receiving the dividend or while during the time of refund of the capital in the event of liquidation of a company. There are different types of preference shares. They are like cumulative preference shares, then non-cumulative preference shares, participating preference shares, non-participating preference shares, redeemable preference shares, irredeemable preference shares. Okay. So what do you mean by cumulative preference shares? The holders of these preference shares are entitled to receive a fixed percentage of dividend out of the profit of the company. If the company does not earn sufficient profit to declare the dividend in any year, the arrears of dividend would accumulate and become payable out of the profits of the subsequent year or years before paying anything to other classes of shareholders or the equity shareholders. So they are called as cumulative preference shares. The next one is non-cumulative preference shares. These preference shares are quite reverse to the previous one. See, these preference shareholders are going to get the dividend only if there is accumulated profit, or if there is any profit. Unlike the holders of cumulative preference shares, The holders of non-cumulative preference shares are not entitled to receive the arrears of dividend due to them like cumulative preference shares. Next one is participating preference shares. The holders of participating preference shares are, in addition to the fixed percentage of dividend, entitled to participate in the surplus profit of the company. What do you mean by surplus profit? Surplus profit is that profit left after payment of dividend to the equity shareholder. Therefore, see, finally after declaring the dividend, if there is any surplus profit, that profit usually is being distributed among the equity shareholders. But if there is a category of participating preference shares, then that surplus profit is to be distributed even to the participating preference shares. Equity shares, the second category of shares, equity shares, or we can also call as ordinary shares. So according to Companies Act 1956, equity shares are those which are not preference shares. The equity shares do not have special rights either in respect of dividend or in respect of repayment of capital at the time of winding up of the company. So it's very clear that these shareholders are not going to get any preferential rights while getting the dividend or in respect of repayment of capital during the time of winding up of the company. So such shares are called as ordinary shares or equity shares. The next important type of shares is deferred shares or founder shares. A public company can issue only preference shares and equity shares, but a private company can issue, besides the above two types of shares, another category of shares, and that share is called as, or those shares are called as deferred shares. Deferred shares are the shares whose right to receive dividend is deferred or postponed to the end. Holders of these shares get their dividend only after the payment of dividend to preference and equity shareholders. The holders of these shares will get a very high rate of dividend if the company makes large amount of profit. These shares are usually allotted or issued to the promoters or founders of the company, and hence it is also known as founders shares. Another important concept is called book building. Every business organization needs funds for its business activities. It can raise funds either externally or through internal sources. When the company want to go for the external sources, they use various means for the same. Two of the most popular means to raise money are initial public offer, or we can also call it as IPO, and the other one is follow-on public offer, FPO. If the company issue the shares for the first time, then it is called as IPO. An existing joint stock company, when it needs capital and if it raises capital through public offering, then we call it as follow-on public offer. During the IPO or FPO, the company offers its shares to the public either at fixed price or offers a price range so that investors can decide on the right price. In the first case, the price will be fixed by the company itself, where investors are not able to involve in price fixation. But in the second case, here company offers a price range so that the investors can decide on the right price. The method of offering shares by providing a price range is called as book building process or book building method. I'll repeat, the method of offering shares by providing a price range, okay, or we can also call it as price band. So price band means here a higher price and a lower price is given. So within this higher and lower limit, the investors are supposed to bid for prices. So this method provides an opportunity to the market to discover the price for the securities which are on offer. So, book building is an alternative method of making public issue in which applications are accepted from large buyers such as financial institutions, corporations, or high net worth individuals almost on an allotment basis instead of asking them to apply to public offer. Book building is a mechanism where during the period for which the book for the offer is open, the bids are collected from investors at various prices, which are within the price band specified by the issuer. The process is directed towards both institutional investors as well as the retail investors. The issue price is determined after the bid closure based on the demand generated in the process. Issue of shares. So there are certain steps involved in the issue of shares. They are, the first step is application for shares. In order to raise the capital from the public, a public company usually issues a prospectus. After seeing the prospectus, all those persons who are interested to buy the shares of the company have to fill in the application forms and send the application forms to the company's bankers along with some money. Okay, right. So as per the section 69(3) of the Companies Act, the money payable will with the application money form is known as application money. I'll repeat. According to the section 69(3) of the Companies Act, the money payable with the application form is known as application money. The application money must not be less than 5% of the nominal or face value of the shares issued. But as per the guidelines of the SEBI, the minimum application money shall not be less than 25% of the issue price. That means 25% of the issue price as laid down by SEBI cannot be less than 5% of the nominal value of the shares. Okay, this is first stage. And then the second stage, after the application is received along with the application money, then company is going to issue the shares to them or allot shares to the shareholders or like the applicants. After the last date for the receipt of the application is over, the directors of the company proceed with the allotment of shares. The allotment of shares means the distribution of shares among the applicants or subscribers. The directors can allot shares only if the applications for shares are equal at least to the amount of minimum subscriptions mentioned in the prospectus. While making the allotment of the shares, the directors have the wide power. They can allot all the shares applied for or less than those applied for or reject the applications without giving any reason. After collecting the allotment money, letters of allotment is sent to the applicants to whom the allotment is made, and for others letters of regret are sent and their application money is returned. The third stage is calls on arrears. After allotting the shares and receiving the allotment money, the directors of the company can call up the balances of the value of the shares in one or more installments as and when the need arises. These installments demanded or called up by the directors are called as calls. If the balance of the value of the shares is called in more than one installment, then the installment should be called first call, second call, and so on. And the last call should be called as final call. It may be noted that there should not be more than 3 calls. Whenever a call is made, call letters are sent to the shareholders asking them to pay the amount of call within a specified period. 14 days notice must be given to the shareholders to pay the call amount. Thank you.